Roadhouse just released on Amazon Prime Video. It's a remake of the 1989 cult classic starring Patrick Swayze. Full disclosure, it's not a film I've watched. I honestly didn't even know about the original until after I watched this movie. So I went into this without any real expectations or preconceptions for what type of movie this was going to be. And now having watched it, it's also not quite clear what motivated a remake of this movie. I don't think anyone was really asking for this remake. It feels like a way to do a bit of nostalgia baiting for the people that love the original from the 80s, sprinkle in some big names like Jake Gyllenhaal and bloody Conor McGregor, and capturing that wave of UFC and MMA fandom that's been built up in recent years. So Roadhouse is about Jake Gyllenhaal's character Elwood Dalton, an insanely ripped former UFC champion whose career imploded and is pretty much at rock bottom, making money in the world of underground bare knuckle boxing, and is sort of this charismatic drifter character with an extremely violent reputation. He's tracked down by Frankie, the owner of a bar in the Florida Keys called the Roadhouse, which is less of a roadhouse but actually looks like a swanky beach bar with ocean views. The Roadhouse has been terrorized by rowdy patrons, so she's hiring him to clean up the place, flex his muscle, and scare off the hooligans, but she doesn't really tell him the real reasons for the problems at the bar. And this just ends up being this mob group essentially wanting to scare Frankie off so that they can snatch up the land where the Roadhouse is, and which is prime waterfront real estate, and redevelop it and make a boatload of money. The conflicts at the Roadhouse continue to happen, and Dalton continues to get stuck in the middle of it. But he easily takes care of anyone that comes in causing trouble, and even tutors some of the employees to do some bouncing of rowdy customers of their own. The fighting and the action just keeps escalating, and honestly by the third act, things are just absolutely off the rails. The film is just one massive fight. Roughly 70 to 80% of it just features someone in extreme bodily pain or getting glassed in the head, punched in the face, stabbed, kicked, thrown around, spear tackled. It's just got it all. And it's not just, gang members fighting Jake Gyllenhaal. It's literally just random people that go to this bar and find an excuse to fight each other. There's a scene, literally a bar fight, where people are turning around to people next to them, and I presume they're their friends because they're literally just having a drink next to them, and they just start punching them. So the movie, it's not unwatchable. It's sort of fun and has some engaging sequences and decent lines and moments. Jake Gyllenhaal has plenty of charm and charisma. He's got a super calm demeanor and he threatens people in an extremely polite way, but he can absolutely walk the talk, so he knows how insanely good he is and how dangerous he is, and he just isn't scared of anyone. And throughout the film, he sustains some serious damage multiple times, but he literally just heals instantly. It's like nothing to him. So the movie isn't trying to be realistic. The fighting, the characters, the plot, it's all just so outrageous that it becomes hilarious. They know it's silly and they lean into it, and that works for a bit, and then it doesn't work and just becomes completely cringy and devoid of any logic. Yes, you can be self-aware that your movie is silly, but there sort of needs to be some sort of baseline. You can't just let everything go off the rails and then wink at the audience like we're in on the joke. There still needs to be a decent foundation and an investment in the characters, which this film just didn't have at all. There was a lot of undercooked plot points and characters, like the doctor and love interest Ellie, who's just completely forgettable. She meets Dalton for the first time when he drops off some guys he beat up at the hospital and berates him for being so violent. And then a few scenes later, she's throwing herself at him. And then there's another plot point about her being the daughter of a corrupt cop who she's estranged from, and this just goes nowhere and just seems like a convenient coincidence to link two characters together. And then on top of that, her dad, the corrupt cop, goes by the name Mr. Big Dick. Like when he first said it, I thought it was a joke, but literally other characters are calling him Big Dick. Like, what? I need an explanation. And then we've got the main villain's father who's in jail, and it seems like he's the real one pulling the strings, but he just remains in the background and nothing really comes of it. We've got a teenager and her dad who run a local bookshop, and Dalton develops a soft spot for them, and that relationship felt super superficial and just was there for one reason: to give Dalton a weakness, I guess, to be the thing that showed us that the gang went too far and crossed the line with Dalton. And then we have Knox, the character played by Conor McGregor, who is just absolutely ridiculous. We're introduced to him butt naked with his bare ass out, and he's in Italy, and he gets this call asking him to help get rid of Dalton. He takes the call and he tells his boss to wait, and then it just cuts to him having set a market on fire and having robbed someone of a jacket. Like what? His boss was literally just waiting on the phone for him to burn down a market and steal someone's jacket before hearing that, he was accepting this job. His character was such a cartoon. His accent was also all over the place. He's playing an Irish character. He's playing himself. but he kept sounding American in spots. He also had a lot of cringy lines. Honestly, they should have just let Conor McGregor just come up with his own insults.
Give us a quick count to 10, both of you gentlemen, if you don't mind, just if you wouldn't mind counting to 10.
Nate can only count to 5. 10.
Oh,
Count to 5, Nate, will you, if you can?
You count.
You up with that
I
coffee.
ain't counting. How about
And
that?
hurry up with that coffee.
And he was hamming everything up like crazy. I liked it to an extent because his character's wacky and crazy, but he's only threatening because we know he's Conor McGregor. We know he's a savage fighter. His character more just seems like an idiot that's good at fighting rather than, you know, being cunning and witty, which is how Conor is when he's involved in fight promotion, and that's what made him so popular. It also definitely felt like there was some sort of UFC tie-in here, like Dana White let them film at a real UFC event, but, you know, on the contingent condition that Conor was gonna be in this movie. And look, Conor is essentially playing a super hammed up version of himself. And yeah, he's not a classically trained actor by any means, so I guess you can't really blame him for his inconsistent delivery. As for the combat, I really enjoyed the brutality of the fight scenes. The hits felt heavy and it felt like we were close to the action, but then there was also a lot of just whipping the lens around all over the place. They just sort of took me out of it. And then dropping into the occasional POV shot of a character getting absolutely concussed. I mean, it just made me a little bit dizzy. I'm sort of also mixed on Conor's fighting as well. Like, don't get me wrong, MMA is absolutely brutal, but I don't think it lends itself as well to being captured cinematically. Honestly, I think I would have preferred more still shots of the fighting instead of all the flying around with these weird drone shots, which somehow made the fights feel CG. So is Roadhouse worth watching? I guess it's worth watching if you're in the mood for some silly dialogue.
This piano's out of tune.
Sounds pretty good to me.
Watching a bunch of fights and bar brawls. You sort of know just seeing Conor McGregor in the trailer that it's not going to be a super serious movie with a well thought out plot and well developed characters. It's honestly a movie where there's just a flimsy plot that exists just to get you to the next fight. It's decent fun, but not something I'd be telling everyone to rush and go see. Anyways, hopefully that all made sense. For more analysis, go ahead and check out this video right here. Thank you all again. Bye.